Hello and welcome to the All Blacks edition, episode 16. Wow, we've been going for a while now, haven't we? So last week I think we took a week off and we talked about other stuff. So yes, it's back. We're talking about All Blacks. All things All Blacks. And we had a few things to talk about. So we'll talk about money.
Ruth of all evil.
We'll talk about contracts. And we'll also talk about why are New Zealand so good? Because I've got some brand new insights onto that. So anyway, welcome to Ashwin and Herman. How are you doing, sirs?
Oh, we're good. And welcome to everybody with Fun with Flags.
Hey.
Oh, wait, wrong show. Sorry, my bad.
I'm doing good too.
I've no idea. I'm just speechless. No idea what the flag is all about. But I will say the Blues have got one of the worst jerseys in the world. And you need to have sympathetic sponsors. And having a big green square in the middle of a blue jersey doesn't work. NIB, sort it out. And that's going to be my often a rant already. Why not? Jerseys, especially the New Zealand franchises, guys, you know who your sponsors are going to be. How about talking to the designers before and say, here's our sponsor. Please try and make it sympathetic and make it all match up because, yeah. No, otherwise it doesn't work. Cool. Right. First things first, money. So, Ashwin, how do you feel about your tax dollars being used to pay for the All Blacks?
Look, it's a weird conversation that we're having, really, and there's so much misinformation that's been thrown about. And the biggest issue that I have is that all these media commentators who are experts and don't know anything about sport, and they're talking about it. So let's have a look at this at surface level. The government already provides funding to many sports organisations at an elite level. Now, the most obvious being America's Cup, where they throw big dollars at the America's Cup to go and do whatever they do. Now, they could say, oh, well, hang on, it's because they need to get that funding to be able to get the event and get the money rolling in. So it's at a stage when there's no money rolling in. Well, okay, let's look at Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was always going to make money, and they threw money at them. So if it helps the All Black to maintain an aura and a name around the world to promote New Zealand, where is the problem?
All right, I want to go right away. First of all, the America's Cup
right away.
One, the America's Cup one. I mean, there is a pretty big thing you and a fair few other rugby fans are ignoring here. That is, if you actually win the America's Cup, which New Zealand did, that means the America's Cup will come to New Zealand, and that means it's going to come some pretty big tax dollars in income to the New Zealand government, so that's probably a good investment. Making the All Blacks win more test matches, I'm not sure how that's going to affect the finances of the New Zealand government.
Also,
well, it does. It helps big time actually because obviously gate sales, merchandise sales. But if you take a look at the Lions tour was a massive revenue gatherer for New Zealand Inc. Not just for the rugby union, but the hotels, the hospitality industry, etc., etc. So it brings in. I'd suggest that it actually brings in a lot more tax dollars at the end of the day than.
No, I mean, if anything, New Zealand government should send some money to the British and Irish Lions to come back more often, because that brings them. The British and Irish Lions are coming, no matter what, how many tests All Blacks win or losing, they're coming every 12 years.
Yeah, and let's face it, because this is the All Blacks edition, we can say this quite, without fear of retribution. We want a competitive series, so the Lions might as well just play the All Blacks every 4 years anyway, eh?
Well, if I could choose, that's probably a discussion for another show, but I've been serious contemplating that because with the state that the Wallabies and the Springboks look at the moment and the Super Rugby sides at the moment, what is the point going to be that the British and Irish Lions going to tour Australia and South Africa in the next couple of years? It's going to be blow up.
What's the point of the All Blacks playing Australia and South Africa?
Better go New Zealand on every tour.
Yeah, South Africa 2021?
the British and Irish Lions should just skip South Africa and Australia from now. They should just go to New Zealand and the fourth year, because that's when it's interesting. I mean, to be fair, I mean, we're not going to get too into it. But if that Lions team that were in New Zealand last year, if they had gone to Australia, it would have been like 10-0, and it would have been blown all Australian teams off the park probably. And it would know it. Instead, so yeah.
Hey, and having a Lions tour every 4 years here, because we won't get the World Cup that often, will help sort of give that global image of New Zealand, rugby being a religion in New Zealand when it really isn't.
All right. Paul, you got the hotline to Steve Chu? Call him. We got it sorted, you know. We got the extra money sorted. Don't worry about the government. We're going to change the regulations from Alliance.
Just so that, I mean, like Herman, you wouldn't have heard this, and I don't know if Paul would have either, but because of my job, I listen to I listen to Radio Live, so that's one of the stations I listen to. So it's Talkback, right? And you get the commentators on there just drive you nuts, because when they're talking about sport, because they're talking about, if they can't afford to keep the players, they should just change the selection policy and select them from overseas. And it's just like, you have no idea, do you? Have you not seen South African rugby and and Australian rugby, where they select players from overseas, and how well that's worked for them?
Now, am I allowed? Wow, I get a word in edgeways. This is amazing.
Quick, start talking to him.
So first off, good evening, Line Break Rugby. See, he feels like a sandwich now. So that shows I'm an influencer. So there you go, folks. If you want people to feel like wanting your product, just get me to eat sandwiches. That's the moral of the tale. But I get this point of that it is promoting the New Zealand brand around the world, but to me, I'm not a fan of my tax dollars going towards elite sponsors where they can, elite sport where they have got big sponsors and money coming in personally. I see, yes, you do need to retain talent and picking from overseas. I think the selection policy is correct at the moment. And if you look at the top teams only select players from their country. So Ireland do the same thing. They're number 2 in the world. England were number 2 for a while. Wales, I believe, are number 3 at the moment, and that's basically how they've taken their policy as well. So there is, that's on a selection side, that's the right sort of thing. To people to be spending, if we look at the other elite sports like the Olympics, etc., those guys are not on megabucks if they get some, if they get funding, and that's fine. For them to get what is a little bit over minimum wage to go and represent New Zealand at the Olympics and to bring back medals, I think that's a good investment. But for a sport that has the kind of that can bring in and does bring in the sponsorship dollars that New Zealand does, then also that the All Blacks do, New Zealand Rugby do. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the idea of using tax dollars for that kind of thing.
I think we're coming from a wrong way from the beginning. I see this as like we're still stuck in like the old amateur way of thinking ways. And they're also like hell bent on just keeping the All Blacks brand, and whatever else doesn't matter really anymore. I mean, we've been talking about this before, but the big unused resource New Zealand still has is Super Rugby. If Super Rugby would be better managed, it could be a big money spinner, but now it's working because the All Blacks are doing so fine, so no one want to change anything, you know. So better, like, sorry for saying, but it's almost like starting to look like a Soviet style of governing in a sport, you know. Let the government pay for it. We don't want to compete in the free market. The free market is bad. And instead, like, but we can't let our players go to Europe, you know. And I get that all thinking, but as we talked a little bit about before, but why don't start looking at sharing players with Super Rugby teams in Australia and Japan? Let them pay the wages for top players in New Zealand, but at the same time, it will still be in the Super Rugby competition. You could still enforce clauses in the contract that they only have to play. All the All Blacks players have to rest 2 games. All these, especially if New Zealand Rugby Union are like part of the solution. They're part of the ownership. they can really enforce these kind of rules. But no one is looking at these options. I mean, as we talked a little bit yesterday, I'm still dumbfounded that they're like the lack of foresight New Zealand Rugby showing how to get Japan on board. Really, I mean, it's the world's third, like is the world third and fourth richest country in the world, and they're right there for the taking. No, please give us some extra dollars from the New Zealand government instead. If they just try to be a little bit more progressive, they could tap into a way more money than even the New Zealand government ever can dream of giving the All Blacks. But so I see it all connects. That we're still a little bit stuck in an amateur thinking here. Like instead of actually backing ourselves, it doesn't matter if the All Blacks player plays in Australia and Japan. They're still the best players in the world, and if we're still playing the Super Rugby, come home from All Blacks, we're still going to beat the S out of everyone else. Back yourself. I mean, Kiwis, back yourself. You have the best players in the world. Should all that all of a sudden be gone just because it just happened us to play for New Zealand Super Rugby sides anymore? I mean, again, be very clear. I'm not talking about they should go to Europe, but try to see what you can do within the Super Rugby because there are huge potential here.
Yeah, and there's also big potential. There's also a situation where you've got a guy in Twiggy running about this this World Rugby Series, and he's looking at using Southeast Asia or South Asia. Now, here's a great way. Okay, if you say, oh well, putting 3 or 4 Japanese teams into Super Rugby, they wouldn't be strong enough, and blah blah blah. Well, you know what? Here's a great development tournament you could do. You could work with him to run them for 4 years, and then in 4 years' time, hey presto, they've got the organisation is in structure, they're ready to step up. But no one's talking or trying to work with him in that kind of way. And if you work with him in that kind of way, you could perhaps bring back the force into Super Rugby, which is what he wants to try and do. You could bring in a Hong Kong side, you could bring in a Singapore side, you could bring in a number of Japanese sides. This is where the money in Southeast Asia is. And if you try and get a team going from year 0, they're going to fail for the first 4 to 5 years. End of story. If you put them in a competition beforehand and build them up, then you've got some sort of chance of them hitting the ground and being semi-competitive at the very least.
I agree. But it's interesting. Sorry, I mean it's interesting with Twiggy. We mentioned this I think last week that he in his plans now for this World Series of Rugby, there is a New Zealand team in it also. And overall, maybe it's just politics in it, but that New Zealand Rugby, but they actually haven't been commentating on anything regarding Twiggy so far. And my 2 cents is that they obviously haven't made any babies with Twiggy yet, but I'm pretty sure that Steve Chu and Twiggy have lunches sometime. They are talking. I mean, Steve Chu would be stupid if he didn't.
Absolutely, and by the way, the rumours are that it's North Harbour is the team that will be going off into Twiggy's competition, which makes sense. They don't have the history of Auckland rugby, but they're close to Auckland Airport, which is kind of important. They're in Auckland itself, which is the largest market in New Zealand, and from that point of view, it makes a lot of sense for North Harbour to be the one. A bit of laughing there, Ashwin.
Oh no, I think the cat's causing some issues, but no, I just everything that you guys have talked about is, and I was just going to say, I think we've sort of talked about this either off air or on air. I can't remember, but it's like just what Herman's sort of been going on about. We've talked about in some varying form, and I think we're all in agreement. It's just like the market's here, the opportunity's here. They just got to think outside the square and how to create that competition. And with the ideas that we've thrown out here, a North Harbour or an Auckland-based team to go play in Twiggy's competition, all these things. If we look at, we've got a massive catchment of players here, a resource of players that, obviously there's 120 odd, or whatever it is, players getting captured by the 5 franchises. There's still players left over that can be playing in other teams, like you said, Australian, Japanese-based, Twiggy's competition. And they could contract them to still centrally contract them, have agreements in place that, hey, you're going out to play Super Rugby somewhere, but you're a New Zealand contracted player. this can all be managed, but they don't seem to be thinking outside the box. Well, square.
The main point, as long as you keep it like from a New Zealand perspective, if I put on my All Black jersey, as long as inside the structure that New Zealand rugby actually have some kind of control of, I'm all fine with like loosen the grip a little bit of the All Blacks players. Like I'm going to go a little bit sideways. Like one idea, because the next TV deal finished 2020. That means there's 1 year after the World Cup. That's also that's going to be with this current Super Rugby setup. If I were New Zealand Rugby, I would relocate like 3, 4, or 5 of the star All Blacks players, like Bowden Barrett, Broderick Italic to the Sunwolves, and make sure Sunwolves have the best possible team ever, probably like boost them up so they probably can win Super Rugby. Because that would put them in a great situation when the next team's going to kick in. But because obviously a hot Japanese team with some of the world's best players, like in a great metropole like Tokyo, that means money. And it would also take away the burden of their salaries, and you could probably also prop up like really close the door to Europe, because if you do it the right way, I think it's entirely possible for these players to earn even more money in Japan than it is to earn in Europe, if it's done the right way.
Very true. And it's this thinking outside the box that we need. And one of the problems the All Blacks have is that they are overprotective of the brand. And one reason I go and say this is I've gone to 3 Mitre 10 Cup games this season and been putting out my videos around that sort of pre, mid-game, end-game, and then interviewed the head coaches after the game. I've been interviewing a few people behind the scenes, such as the guy who manages the Ball Boys. I've talked to the Manawatu line-out caller, talk about line-outs and stuff, and I've also had a chat with Seta Tamanivalu. Now, all of those stuff, or a bunch of that stuff has been put out to my Patreons first for 5 days before it goes public. And already I've had 2 guys jump on board and go, wow, thank you for the extra coverage on my 10 Cup. I just don't hear enough about it. It's like, yeah, do you need a very polished camera, sound guy, editor, director, and send 20 people to each of these places to produce a bit of interesting content? No, you need one guy with a mobile phone having a chat with people, but that requires thinking outside the box. It requires a bit of hands-off control rather than having lots of people controlling exactly what people say, and it requires a bit of using social media rather than just saying, all right, it has to go through the papers or Sky. But they don't want to think outside the box too much. They want to work with big commercial partners, and that's why you get less and less coverage of Mitre 10 Cup and the smaller stuff.
Hey, it's worse than that. In Auckland, there is no coverage of Mitre 10 Cup. Basically, you got 3 teams out of the Auckland region in North Harbour, Auckland, and counties Manukau. You could basically say there is no coverage of Mitre 10 Cup that you can pick up of. And it's ridiculous. And it's just like, why are they protecting the brand when the brand isn't getting exposure unless you're wearing a black jersey? They're mental. It's just, you want to get Steve Chu and wrap him around the ears.
I mean, one of the things that amazed me on, which day was it? Saturday. I was at the Waikato versus North Harbour game. And the media manager there goes, oh yeah, that table down there in the media room, that's reserved for the Waikato Times, who haven't bothered to turn up today. Hang on, the local paper hasn't turned up to their number 1 sports team for their province to even bother covering it today, because they'll just probably just do it off the telly. They'll watch it on the telly and then just write an article about it. That's
what's happening.
That's what's happening. So myself and Michael Pullman, who you probably have heard of and seen him on, he writes for Last Word on Sport a bit. He does his own stuff as well. Were the only 2 people after the game that requested interviews with the coaches and the players. No mainstream media at all asked for any post-game interviews. Not Sky, none of the papers, none of the websites, nobody. Which was amazing.
I'm wondering why Mitre 10 Cup's dying.
I mean, because
I don't know why. Can't work it out.
I guess, especially you, Ashwin, remember this, but for me, being a foreigner outside New Zealand and so on. But I do enjoy doing my watching old rugby on YouTube sometimes, and I watch like old ITM Cup games and so on. Like when it was the Blues against the Crusaders, that was like your like El Clasico, Real Madrid, Barcelona back in the day. That was a sold out. It was a game of the year, you know. And
well, rewind it. You're not Blues Crusaders. We're talking Auckland versus Canterbury.
Yeah. Auckland, Canterbury, you know, but the same thing. I mean, it's like what it used to be like one of the strongest rivalry in the sporting world, and it's just completely dead now. And
yep.
And this is when I come back. Are we really thinking that the All Blacks couldn't be this good without destroying all this?
Yeah. But so anyway, hopefully, I know I've tried to reach out to various people, such as the Mice 10 themselves, and saying, "Hey guys, how would you like how'd you like some Mice 10 Cup coverage done by somebody for the thing that you sponsor?" And actually try and spread the word about the competition you have your name all over. So hopefully they'll come on board and help me, because I reckon I can make it to at least 6 grounds, if not 7 grounds, this season to talk to provide coverage from. And if Mitre 10 were to get involved, then I could probably even make even more. But there you go. That's my little pitch. And
it's pretty much the same story in South Africa too with their Curry Cup. I mean, when Super Rugby came along with Game Went Pro, it's probably like really easy. Oh, look, we get a big sack of money here. Like, oh, this is wonderful, you know. But long term, it seems like killing off like 2 really, really classic competitions that really are like founded deep into the rugby communities in both countries, you know. We have just let's just drop that. I mean, I think that is slowly. That's that's coming back to haunt them, because
the thing is that the Curry Cup one is different, because the reason the Curry Cup one's dying is that basically it's Super Rugby without New Zealand and Australia. Whereas
but also it was a big deal before. Also remember the Curry Cup back in the day. We also have 14 regions in South Africa too, and it used to be 14 teams in the Curry Cup back in the day too.
Oh, I agree, but they've gone. But because now it's
now it's.
They tied their Super Rugby franchises very closely with their provincial Curry Cup teams, whereas New Zealand didn't, or it did, and then it's lost it.
Yeah, they did originally, but now it's But do you think think South African rugby's basically got the issues for different reasons, mainly because it's just so feudal over there?
Well, but what I'm thinking is, because if you have old competitions, like I can refer to my home country Sweden here, and our Premier League in soccer in Sweden, which is like pretty low quality. I think we're ranked like number 22 in Europe or league. You know, it's not special at all. But since this is the same league that's been going on since I think the first season was played like in 1892 or something like that. It's the same teams that still go on. I mean, the roots and the culture. I mean, a lot of teams, like the best supported team in Sweden is one of the 3 teams from Stockholm. We are like one of the worst performing teams in Sweden ever through history. But it's a culture thing to go see them. I mean, it's not connected, because when you have that kind of history and that kind of roots, winning is not the only thing. It's a way, because it's part of a community. It's like a really, really like fine little part of them. And look at it from your home country, Paul, England. Why the pretty much every arena sold out, even down to the 3rd tier in England when it comes to soccer? Because it's a part of the culture, it's part of the community to go watch these, and they've been around for 100+ years, all of them.
Now, it was refreshing. So we hear about and we talk about lots of sort of academies and pathways and all of this stuff with players, and you talk about a lot of players, they move between provinces and all this kind of stuff. I sat down and for those of you watching Arshin's face, it's because he's watching the rugby. He's watching
multitasking
versus Taranaki. Okay, gone. Score update.
Score update. So the second half just started, and counties are leading 12-8. They've scored 2 tries, both one to Tui Loma, one to the win.
Score update. Thank you. I mean, God, no one listens to me. This is what I found in my life. So I sat down with Nick Creswell and Liam from Manawatu 2 Turbos, and it was amazing. I went there and went to Manawatu 2 Turbos the weekend before, and then I sat with them the night before their game here in New Plymouth. And when I was at the stadium, I went and sat with the Bucketheads. And the Bucketheads are probably a group of, are a group of about 30 people. Okay? There's not very many of them. But they all wear either a green bucket and green clothing and a sort of green face mask or something like that. And they chant the whole game, which I've never heard anywhere else in New Zealand. They are the best fans around. It would be good if they didn't quite swear so much, because then I could do videos of them. But hey, students who have had a few beers, unsurprisingly enough, swear quite a lot during their chants. That's fine. It is what it is, and it's great. And I would happily have been one of them a number of years ago. But Liam, 2 years ago, was sat there with a bucket, was stood in that crowd with a bucket on his head, shouting at the players and telling how his own players to get up off the floor and work harder, and they were useless and stuff. And it was amazing to see a guy who was basically playing professional level sport, but was a real fan of that team. Nick Creswell, very similar as well. Another guy who he loves and he knows the Bucketheads by name, as in individual people's names, not just they're the Bucketheads over there. No, there was a police incident prior to the game where 4 police had set up in the pre-drinking session that the Bucketheads had, and they had a quick chat, and they actually knew the guy who had been called. Oh, it's him! Haha! Yeah, we knew that would probably be. That's how they connect, and that's real New Zealand, rural New Zealand, and that kind of connection between the players and the fans was brilliant. And the players were fans effectively, and they're doing it because they really, really, really love it, and that was great to see. And whereas when in this age of talk about academy pathways and all of that kind of stuff. Sorry, that was my little rant.
Yeah, duly noted.
So it doesn't exist. It just exists on a small scale here, and that's a problem. But Herman, you have a list for us, and we should probably go through this list.
The one I guess most of our
fans,
listeners, and watchers have seen it. But it's let's see here, the All Black list, but the contract situation, how it looks like after the coming World Cup. So let's start from behind instead. Like the ones who have contracts to 2021 are Cody Taylor.
So what's the total number first?
Pardon?
How many are there?
We're going to get to the big. I'm not going to rattle the big one. I'm just going to give the effect by. I got it covered, Paul.
Okay, go on. I'll let you guys.
So the ones who have contracted who have All Blacks caps right now in New Zealand are Cody Taylor, TJ Perenara, Damien McKenzie, Ola Upa Tufangamafasi, Sam Cane, and Big Carb. Then 2020, it's Ben Smith, Anton Leonard Byrne, Vasi Pepita, Lualala, and Scott Barrett. Their contract finish after the World Cup. That means the rest. All of them.
Wow. Hang on. Ben Smith actually has a year after the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, but he actually had a clause in his contract that he actually can break that after the World Cup too. So he could be gone too.
Well, I'm expecting him to retire after the World Cup, to be honest with you.
Yeah, at least from the All Blacks. Yeah, most likely. But just to see from key players of the All Blacks, I would say it's Scott Barrett, Cody Taylor, and Sam Cane are like starters. I can see you still playing as starters for 2023. The rest, the NCR needs to negotiate new contracts with.
Whoa. So,
and on top of what we talked before, now Steve Chew is on the record saying that they're already spending between 5 to 7 million too much on a yearly basis in New Zealand rugby.
So how about we have a bit of fun with this then? So have you've got a list of the players who are out of contracts in 2019 after the Rugby World Cup?
It's all the ones I mentioned. The one after the 2020 and 21. Everyone else you can think of, their contract ends in 2019.
I know, but how about we do?
So, I mean, should I go through them all? You want to go through them all?
Wait a second. As we go through them, we should go one by one and go.
Maybe I should
go one by one and go. Pay, pay, sack, or pay, send overseas. One by one, and see who do we? Let's have a sort of kangaroo court as to whether they deserve a new contract or not.
Okay. We can do like that. So, all right. Okay, we start with, first of all, we have the ones who have even a signed contract for 2018, who are contract ending this year. The brother Ioane, of course, and Luke Romano. They have not even signed contract for the World Cup yet. So they need to fix that first.
Cut. Yep, cut Romano, cut Akira Ioane.
Yeah, the Ioane brothers needs to. But then we have...
Slow down.
Well, are you keeping Rico?
I was going to say, the Ioane, but you can't wrap up two people in the same name. You got to give us... We can't go one at a time.
Yeah, but I thought that it was... Okay, Rico Ioane.
Throw the bank at him.
Yeah. Akira Ioane.
Oh, overseas. Austin?
You play for Japan.
Yeah, Japan.
Luke Romano.
Overseas.
Gone.
Dane Coles.
Small money. Let him go if he wants to, because he hasn't played in the last 2 years.
2 weeks
Nathan
away.
Harris.
Well, Ashwin, hang on Coles. Keep or sell.
I'd keep him.
Ooh.
Okay. Nathan Harris.
Gone.
No, buy, but because he's cheap.
Liam Coltman.
Oh, hang on. Time out. Are we playing Football Manager, or are we saying they're worthy of a contract?
Football Manager.
We're playing Football Manager, aren't we?
Finally, Ashwin, you're the big wig at New Zealand Rugby now. You decide. Like a Roman emperor.
I'll give Coltman the contract over Harris.
All right.
Again, small contract.
Yeah.
Owen Franks.
Oh, no.
Overseas.
I'll probably give him a medium to high contract.
How old is he?
But props mature with age and just keep getting better.
He can't. He's not going to make it to the next World Cup, is he?
Yeah, but you're still going to need a couple of. I mean, are we going to start going down the track of rebuilding the year after the World Cup all the time, or are we going to look at bringing players in over that 4-year period?
No, you rebuild. Anyone who's not going to make it to the next Rugby World Cup, they're gone. That's
right.
I think that's how they work now.
All right, we move on.
Yep.
Joe Moody.
How old is he? I don't know.
No, I think he's on the younger side, so I think you'd give him a contract.
Money, yes. If he's on the younger side, yes.
He's a starter.
Money. Yep.
Tim Perry.
No, gone.
Yep, gone.
Kane Haynes.
Ooh. Yeah.
I think you could probably get him for a small contract, so I think he'd be okay.
Yeah, give him a small. Yeah, give him a small one.
All right. Sam Whitelock.
Sam Whitelock.
Oh, he's got another World Cup left in him, actually.
Really?
I think he's about 28.
Yeah, probably the ex-captain too, eh?
No, Captain Sam Kane.
Yeah, I'd throw a bit of money at him, actually.
Yeah.
There's only 3 locks in New Zealand, so you've got to. Money.
Yeah.
All right. Patrick Tuapulu.
Piloto.
I mean, come on. This is not my home ground. You're pushing me through this, but spare with me. I mean, we don't get to practice this in Sweden how to pronounce Maori and Pacific Islander names.
Overseas.
You probably. I think you're cutting him. Tell you the truth. Basically, based on injuries.
Okay, and probably the easiest call of today, Brody Retallick.
Yeah.
I'll cut him.
Bye.
Cut him.
Bye.
Big
Gone,
money
mate.
on Brody.
In fact, I'm going to buy all the property in Auckland and give it to him.
Carrying him. Sick of the team carrying him.
Matt Todd.
Matt Todd's gone anyway.
Yeah, he's gone.
Kieran Reid.
Gone.
Well, he'll be too old.
Yep, too old.
Artie Savia.
Small contract.
Yeah, small contract, if you'll take it, otherwise...
You can't get rid of all your experience.
Liam Squire.
Buy. Yep.
Yeah, buy. Medium high.
Medium high. Yep.
Jordan Taufua.
Gone.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's limited. But the problem with Jordan Taufua is he's limited in what he does. That's the problem. We talked digressing to our hash rugby chats. And you play him at number 8 and you got to find jumping locks at number 6. Which we do.
Yeah,
all right,
sell. Yep, sell. Goodbye.
We move on. Luke Whitelock.
Oh, sell.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, go on.
Shannon Frisell.
Buy. He's the future.
He's the future, I suppose, yeah. So you'd buy. Probably about a medium price.
Jackson Hemapu.
Buy. He's the future.
I guess so. Because you got to keep, again, some guys that you're bringing through at the moment, you got to maintain them, so you buy.
And talking to the Manawatu guys, he was one of the 2 names they called out of all the Manawatu All Blacks. They wanted, they said if we could have had Henmapo and Laumape for the Shield Challenge Cup game, that's what they wanted. So yeah, Henmapo comes with the players like him, definitely.
Reps.
All right. Elliot Dixon.
Go on.
Yep, gone.
He's already gone anyway.
Aaron Smith.
All Blacks.
Aaron Smith.
Gone.
You reckon?
Yep.
I don't know. I think I'd keep him. I know he could squeeze through to the next World Cup, even as a backup halfback. At the end of the day, he's not really slowing down.
My guess about Aaron Smith that some French club are going to throw huge money after him.
True.
Yeah, so it's going to be hard to keep it.
This might be a bit of an inside comment, but Aaron Smith is well, I think we'll go in the same way that Cruden did.
All right. And Golden Boy, Bowden Barrett.
Buy. You have to.
Buy.
But give him a sabbatical or 2.
That's right.
So he can go into some.
Basically after the World Cup, a sabbatical year after the World Cup to go get $2 million somewhere for a year.
Yep.
Japan. Someone.
Yeah.
That's what I've been loving for a long time. Yes. Planting seeds
deja vu. No, I think we've talked about it before.
All right. Not the Golden Boy, but the next one, Richie Mwanga.
I think he'll go in the same way that Sopowanga's gone.
You reckon?
Yep.
All right.
No, I'd throw a medium-sized contract at him.
Well, I would throw big money after him. I think he's the next thing. All right. Jack Goodhue.
Oh, buy. Definitely.
I'll buy, yeah. I was thinking Josh when you're saying Jack for some reason.
And now, even if he's a blues boy, I'm pretty certain both of you are going to say, throw him out of New Zealand. Sonny Bill Williams.
He'll move on anyway.
Yeah, you don't even have to make that call.
just because of age. Otherwise, I'd say he's a buy, but just because of age, he'll go.
Ngani Luamape.
Buy.
Well,
right.
I'm a buy. It's interesting because it's as Herman said, it's like I'm the top of the tree at the NZRFU, but for some reason the All Blacks coaches aren't fans of his, are they? We'd buy. I'd buy.
Considering Crossie's going to be in the list, we're going to say sell on Crossie, and we sell on Sonny Bill Williams.
Well,
he's now the number 112.
Okay, because that's where we're coming to now. Now I'm going to test your hearts and see if you have any compassion. Ryan Crotty.
How old is he?
29, I think.
He's going to his sister's retirement village.
Yeah. But it's risky business giving him another long contract, isn't it?
He's 29. Yeah. He's not going to as a centre at the age of 34 at the Rugby World Cup. Not going to happen. Therefore, he goes. It's not a sentimental thing. It's a thing about the fact that he won't make the.
It's the Moneyball thing.
Yep, he won't make the following Rugby World Cup.
I think it's also fair to say if some French club are ready to take a chance on him and put the big money on the table, he's going to take that money right away because I think he's fully aware of his own situation too.
Yep, get a Rugby World Cup winners medal under the belt, and off you go.
And here comes
not to Europe, Japan.
Yeah, of course. That's where we're sending.
Now the reason I say actually, and this is the best. So Dan Carter went off and played obviously for Racing Metro for 2 years, and now he's gone to Japan. In Japan, you only play 11 to 12 games all season, right? That's the entire season. It's about 12 games. If you go to France, your season is 24 games from 26 games.
Playoff. If you make the playoff, that's 29, and if you make the final of European Cups, that means a total of 38 games.
Yeah, I mean, so it's crazy. So yeah, it's 26 plus another 6 games, so it's at least 32 because you've got the European games. So yeah, go to Japan. It's less money, but you'll get a couple extra. You get another season out yourself.
But the other thing is that it's not just the volume of games. We're talking about the intensity is obviously, and it'll help his head situation.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of French league rugby, but you can't complain about the brutality of the league. I mean, it's the brutality of it. They do their tackles. That they do. I mean, we might not stick for passes, but the tackles, that part we got.
They stick.
And a tricky one. I think this is a tricky one. Nehemiah Scudder.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, you think is he really coming back? I thought like when he first came back from injury this year, I thought like, he looks like he has his step back. But I think since then I have to pay. Convinced.
But you can buy him and then you don't have to pay him anyway because he'd just be injured all the time.
Move on.
Now, for non-New Zealand people, what Arsenal is referring to here is that the ACC will pay for will cover his costs.
It means the government's paying the wages.
It's not kind of. That's not quite how the ACC works. But anyway, yes. Skip on.
Well, we continue. Israel Dag.
Oh, sell.
Yeah.
Sell. The Crusaders have already sold him.
Yeah, pretty much. Jordy Barrett.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sakina Holo.
No, well, you can sell him because his brother will be ready next year.
Yeah, is that good?
Yes. Having seen him,
yes.
Bye.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got 2 brothers, and it looks like the middle one might not be. I'm not sure if the middle one's injured or not for this season, but he's not in the Mitre 10 Cup. But the younger one is, and the younger one, yes, he'll be an All Black.
Part of my French, but this is the part when like all our European viewers go, "Oh shit, there's another Naholo coming through." No,
2.
Same reaction we had when we heard about Jordy Barrett for first. Like, what? There's another one? No. I remember hearing it like on the Guardian podcast after the Rugby World Cup 2015 when someone mentioned, Jordy Barrett look amazing. Yes, and he has a brother too. And you could hear like both English pundits like, really? No. It's not fair.
Again, another side issue. I went and watched some club rugby about a month and a half ago, and saw another Barrett. But yeah, apparently he's not quite big enough to make it. But there was another Barrett who is playing in club rugby, but he's not quite big enough to make it professionally.
All right, I take the easy way out here. Triple T.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the money I didn't spend.
He's a future halfback.
I'm going to use money I didn't spend on Aaron Smith on him.
And finally, David Havili.
Only if he's if it's a small contract, otherwise,
yes,
not fussed.
I think it's fair to say after doing this exercise, I mean, imagine the kind of work. this is huge work that New Zealand Rugby Union have ahead of it. I mean, I'm not envy. Ashwin, you would like to be Caesar, but all of a sudden, look what kind of decisions you have to make when you are the Caesar. It's a tough gig on the top.
We've just shown you how easy it is to do.
Yeah. I know you.
Like, yes, no. This is like just like going when the sheep are going through the sorting gate. Yes, no. He's off to the freezing works. Lamb chops for him.
Oh, dearie me.
Well, now, that's it from the list.
Now, the only reason we can be playing these sort of games is because New Zealand are so good. So, why are New Zealand so good, Astrid?
I think we sort of touched on it last night. It's the commitment that they've got. It's there's two things basically. The fact that you're going to walk over broken glass for the guy next to you. And also the fear of losing is actually quite something that hasn't been spoken about in the recent years, but there's a massive fear of losing within an All Blacks team as well. So you got to make sure that you're winning. Otherwise you're not there as well. There's a couple of factors. Oh, right. Whiteboarding it. I like to brainstorm.
So leadership is what you're going for there?
Yep.
Christian in the chat has gone squad depth and the culture. I guess culture is part of the leadership side of things. Herman, do you want to throw out?
Yeah, I do, and I don't know if I should use this analogy to explain why my thinking behind New Zealand is so good at rugby, but I shoot straight instead. I think the main reason why New Zealand is so good at rugby is basically if you are a talent in any way, firstly in rugby, but just an athletic talent overall, but mainly in rugby, you will be cared and honed by top class trainers from you are 6, 7, 8 years old. And that will eventually make that no one pretty much in New Zealand slips through the net. If you are a talent in rugby, they will find you. So that's not the case in any other rugby playing nation almost, except maybe like in the islands.
So basically, because it's number one sport in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Herman's sort of alluding to talent identification process.
That's my simple explanation. And also, of course, when you suck up all the talent and give them a chance to hone them. But I think I heard I've been watching sometime too, the juniors competition you have in the school competition you have in New Zealand is also second to none, how you prepared. I mean, you can probably not find this in any other rugby playing country like this. But with my soccer background, I know very well, this is pretty much how I look in every single successful soccer playing country, basically if you're good in soccer in a soccer playing country, they will suck you up and they will put you through fierce competition, already from your 10, 11 years old, and that will go all the way up to you're a senior. It's there's no one slipping through the net pretty much. No one.
But it's interesting. I'll just sort of cover that point because of the fact of what I've been doing recently, obviously with rugby and cricket coaching at a junior level. So what you're seeing though is that if you're a late developer, you can miss out the net. So the best example you can give is someone like an Ali Williams. The way the culture of selection process is going is that in the future, someone like an Ali Williams coming along and being selected for the All Blacks is going to be harder and harder and harder. He didn't start playing rugby until his last year at high school.
I was totally on board with this one. And then this season, Carl comes out. Here's a guy who's a bouncer, given up rugby, and then suddenly gets told by his doctor, oh, you need to lose some weight, goes back and plays rugby, has a club contract, doesn't have a club contract, doesn't have a contract, plays for his club, and then within basically about 5 months or a year,
let's call it 5 months.
So
And got a contract with the Blues. That's even bigger than the All Blacks, I would say.
Once you've made the All Blacks, you're going to get a contract with one of the Super Rugby sides. But to go from in January this year, he probably wasn't even in pre-season yet with his club. To go from that to the
All Blacks,
to the All Blacks, and having a professional contract for the next year is an amazing leap.
It's insane. But still, couldn't you connect that back to actually, because I would say one big reason why this is even possible is because he actually been playing rugby all through his teens in New Zealand. So the core skills and the foundation of being a good rugby player is already there. He was
on rep teams.
He was probably the fine polishing that was missing only.
Oh, and the fact that he found donuts.
Yeah. I mean,
no, come on. Anyone who has seen Pacific Warriors, the kind of movie thing, and I'm sorry, Carl, if this is not true, but hey, fried chicken is apparently the killer. There's way too much fried chicken.
Anyone has watched the David Chappelle show about this? No, it's not. It's not racist. I mean, fried chicken and watermelon.
Watermelon, really?
Look,
that's
actually,
bad for you. That's fruit. It's good for you. It's watermelon.
Yeah.
Does nothing. Just going back to that. Actually, there's a couple of provinces in New Zealand that if you're not identified early, you'll miss out. So the thing that worked in Carl's favour is that he went and played at North Harbour. And obviously the playing stocks and numbers, development, etc., isn't as high. So he was able to come back through the club system and get selected at North Harbour level, etc., etc. You look at an Auckland and Canterbury, that won't happen because they're especially Auckland, and their identification system, their rep teams going forward is what just keeps rolling on. And it's not a good thing.
No, it's not. But again, Manawatu, as I'm talking about earlier, there's a guy again in the stands, getting drunk, shouting at the thing. 2 seasons later, he's the line-out caller for them. Playing, yep. Yeah. So no, there's definitely ways of doing it. Now, New Zealand culture, and one of the things I've mentioned before is that when we've been down to the beach in Mission Bay, and you see the people playing around on the grass there, everyone is either playing with a rugby ball or a volleyball. There's not one soccer ball in sight. There'll be people down there with Ripper tags to play Ripper rugby. There'll be guys playing touch, and there'll be and girls, playing touch and Ripper, but and volleyball. But yes, everyone does it. Everyone just throws it around. Everyone has a ball to throw around, and it's decent. I played some parent touch rugby, and the skills of some of those guys. Yeah, because again, they've not played at school.
That's what we probably in the soccer world will call like the Brazilian beach phenomenon. Like every kid in Brazil grows up in which playing, and there is truth in it. I mean, obviously, if you play around with the ball from a very young age, those kind of skills are very hard to catch up on when you're a grown up. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and at where my girls go to primary school, all the kids are out playing either basketball or touch rugby before school starts.
I mean, and I think it's not only about skills. You get probably also a kind of news and playfulness around the ball handling, and also about playing the game too. It's also extremely hard to get grown up, and because when everything is going to be more structured, and to learn to play free flowing rugby as a grown up, I'd say it's almost impossible.
Don't go to a school in Mount Roskill. I don't know what the hell they play there. My son's the only one that runs around with a rugby ball, and because he's playing with a ball, the other kids might join in, but it's not rugby.
Now, what Arshan is referring to there is that it's just like every country in the world, and it's a good thing. Is there is immigration in New Zealand, and there are certain parts of Auckland where clearly the the percentage of first generation or second generation Kiwis, i.e., people who are either culturally from Southeast Asia predominantly, but also culturally from the subcontinent as well. Because they're first generation, those families don't obviously have the same sports culture as others.
And the mummies and daddies are worried that they'll get hurt playing rugby.
There's definitely that. Now, any other ones you want to throw out there, guys, as to reasons why New Zealand's so good?
I just have to point out, of course, the immigrant's going to say that immigration is good.
Well,
me being the immigrant.
Well, I want to throw out one more argument too, and that's I'm also half German, so I'm going to use soccer again as something to compare with.
Hang on, we can say Herman the German then.
You can. And you're not the first.
He's half. If you're Herman the Jew.
No, but also, I mean, in Germany, it's like same thing with the Mannschaft, the German national team in football. That is, in German language is something called Stolz. It's like proud. Like there is when you put that jersey on, you represent the legacy that goes way beyond yourself. And even not this summer in the World Cup, fucking bastards, but before that. Yeah.
I did allude to that when you two both disappeared off screen.
Yeah. No, but before that, it's very, very obvious that it's like, it can't be a coincidence because I've seen both with the All Blacks and with the German national team in football, especially when we're not playing well, they still manage to find a way to win, Most people have heard, like in soccer, it's like this classic joke that it's like soccer is a very simple game. You play for 90 minutes and then Germany win in the end.
Yeah.
You can probably say the same. Rugby is a very simple game. You play for 80 minutes and the All Blacks wins.
Well,
yeah, I think it's
the All Blacks win it in the last 20.
I was just going to say, this is like you hear it from the All Black players when they're interviewed, and frequently they're saying, "Look, I don't own this jersey. I'm a custodian of the jersey. I wear this jersey for all the players that have worn it before me. And so I'm not just letting down the 15 guys I run out on the field with. I'm letting down the guys that have worn this jersey before me." And they say that consistently. And so absolutely the history, the legacy is a big part of when you become an All Black, understanding what it means to be an All Black. It's not just putting on that jersey and running out there. It's what's come before you as well. And you have other national teams, even not just national teams, selected teams, saying that sort of thing, but it's just words. When you say it as an All Black, there's something behind it. There's true meaning behind it. It's like what you're saying with that German soccer team.
Yeah, there's very much this thing of passing the jersey on in a better place than you received it. Yeah.
But I would probably take it one notch further also, because like in the elite playing community, like the players who are elite now or has been elite before, not everyone are great in the national team, and that is also creating a kind of a pressure too that you need that, because it's great to reach the All Blacks, but if you did it, and you're always gonna have, but in the wider sense, it's a great accomplishment. But with most players actually like their life is inside this elite player community. If you actually didn't perform when you are in this elite environment, you don't get that. To put it simply, who do you think get like the most respect in like an All Black get together? Richie McCaw or Tyler Randell, or what was Captain 99 there? It's obviously Richie McCaw who gets the props. Because if you actually don't deliver on that highest level, yes, you were good to reach that height, but you're a little bit of a failure too, because you didn't do what was expected out of you. And that also creates an extra pressure that you have to reach that level. That's not good enough, You actually have to do more than you reach.
No, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's another topic I want to go into another time. is is how professional sports is a totally different place to people like me who sit at a desk from 9 till 8. 9 till 8? 9 till 5. Jeez. Anyway, any other ones? Or can I go into my, or shall I move on to my one, the big new one that I don't think people have kind of contemplated before?
What's that then, Ted?
So,
this is where you speak.
Coaching.
Coach, yeah. But that,
absolutely, yeah.
We already touched that from the beginning, that you actually get like top level coaching from very, very early age. I mean, this is probably the biggest problem of the Wallabies, that even at senior level, they still don't get good coaching.
Yeah, I mean, like, you look at my... I was going to say, look at my son's team is getting excellent coaching. You know, you know, the progression that they've made from where they started this year to where they've finished has been fantastic.
Right. League structure. Right. The league structure in New Zealand is unique. Nowhere else in the world has the same league structure around Mitre 10 Cup and Super Rugby. So what happens here is, and this is where the coaching piece comes in. In Super Rugby, you get a bunch of players from the is it 14? I think it is provinces all come together into different Super Rugby teams. And since I'm going to talk about Mitre 10 Cup, and Ashwin gave that face, what's the score, Ashwin? Just the score?
Well, unfortunately, I can't tell 100% because my wife's gone and put it on Mosaic, and I'm looking at like effectively a 14-inch screen. Counties has just scored, and I think the score's 17-19 to Taranaki.
Well, I predicted the Taranaki win, so they better pull it off. So, what you have is all these players come together in Super Rugby, and you have the top 5 coaches, or 5 of the top 6 coaches, because obviously there's one in the All Blacks, coaching ideas. And you've got the All Black players come back in, and they tell all their players about the All Blacks ideas. All these players then learn from these top 5 coaches. At the end of the Super Rugby season, those players go off into the 14 different provinces. Now, Manawatu, one of the smaller, less well-off provinces, has 10 Super Rugby players in it, probably from about 3 different sides. So they get the IP, or the knowledge, of those 3 Super Rugby sides coming together. And when they head off again, whatever Razor has told his Crusaders players, all the other Super Rugby coaches know it. So he has to reinvent his coaching every single year, and he has to reinvent all his structures, his moves every year. Which, if you go to the UK, go to England or Ireland or France, those coaches don't lose their IP every year because they've got all their players. They lose a bit of it as players move between squads, but on the whole, they keep their IP, and the same idea can work over 2 or 3 seasons, over several seasons. In New Zealand, it can't, and so I think that breeds that forces the coaches here to be much more innovative than anywhere else, and I think it shares the best. Your best practice gets spread around much better, much quicker, and therefore your coaching and your coaches are of a higher level here. And then you see, if we look overseas, how many of the national coaches are Kiwis or recent national coaches that have been Kiwis? An awful lot of them. And I think that's a big driver that people don't seem to talk, that people haven't got a twigged about yet.
Agree. Very well put, Paul.
Buy that for $1.
So that's my latest insight, and I'll be honest, I picked that one up from talking to from the conversations I've been having with players recently. And yeah,
you can pretty much sum this up. Something I learned when I went to prison school for 100 years ago about it's a Harvard professor called Michael Porter, and his big claim to fame is he's done the studies about clusters. Basically, if you put a lot of skilled persons in a small environment starting competing with each other, there will be excellence eventually. And this you can find in anywhere in the world, business, sports, whatever, It's like also academics. It's just a fact of nature almost.
Success
And New
breeds
Zealand
success.
rugby is an excellent example of being highly competitive in every single level, everywhere.
Yeah, but people talk about the New Zealand way of playing, and there's this assumption that basically New Zealand rugby have designed that, and it's top-down driven, and they've told everyone how to play. And it's not. That's not how it's come about. It's come about by the fact that the players mix up so much that the ideas get spread around so much, so the best ideas rise to the top, and they all play a similar style because that's the best way to play. And sure, there's a bit of guidance from New Zealand rugby, but it's not as prescriptive as a lot of people think it is.
But isn't this? I mean, there is. I mean, obviously, I mean, there are more skills in generally in New Zealand rugby, but I've never been a fan of buying into this like New Zealand way of playing rugby. It's something almost like when Chica talks like the Aussie way of playing rugby. Man, we play running rugby, mate. Because if there's one thing that stands out for me following New Zealand rugby for a good part of the 20 years is they can do it all. Whatever is needed, they can do it all. It's like this idea that New Zealand teams can't play like really gritty defensive, and just like defend their own line and just keep it there, like, and keep the low score. They are perfectly capable of doing this.
Yep. This is like they play the game plan to suit the opposition that they're playing. Yeah. So if you're going to do that, you have to play a variety of forms of rugby. Obviously, they are good at running rugby, and generally speaking, in most games, you get an opportunity at some stage to have a go with some running rugby. But that's just because of the way that an opportunity might open up. But the reality is what you're saying is that no, the All Blacks can actually play any form of rugby that they need to play the opposition in front of them.
And I think also among the Super Rugby, I mean, Crusader is the prime example, but also they play whatever it takes to win.
Yep.
No,
I mean,
absolutely. And what part of my conversation with Creswell was the fact that he's played for the Hurricanes, Highlanders, and the Chiefs, and was kind of like, how similar are they? And he was, and he went, no, they're not. There's a certain element of similarity in the fact that they are top level sports organisations. Don't get me wrong, but he was like, yeah, no, we did this here, we did that there, and there was definite differences. And there are different cultures within the Crusaders, the Highlanders, the Hurricanes, the Chiefs. Not so much Auckland because their only culture is losing in the Blues. Sorry, but there's definitely different playing styles across those four teams that is very unique and has grown over time. So yeah, cool.
2019's our year, man.
To do what?
I don't know. Turn up, play some rugby.
Oh, okay, good. No, not to
All right. What is the latest update on the score, Ashwin?
I'm not sure. I think. No, I can't tell. Actually, sorry. I thought it might have been. So what happened was from that last try that I scored you, Taranaki basically scored from the kickoff and converted. So they got a 7-point lead. And then it looked like County scored straight from a kickoff as well, but I'm not sure whether I was looking at a replay or not. So I apologise for that. I can't give you an accurate update.
So we have to watch the games ourselves. Come on.
Looking at the Tribe Sports app, who our friend Ryan is part of, the score is 19-26 with 2.
Okay, so they didn't
Ryan.
Yeah. So there was
Rick coming through for us, eh?
Yeah, totes.
New York Ryan, Mr. New York.
So, thank you very much, boys. It has been a blast as always. So yeah, NZ Fatso, DrivingMaul on Twitter. Herman, yeah, come back here and have a chat with him. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. Just actually, old-fashioned, tell your friends how wonderful we are. Love
and they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends.
And we'll have 5 viewers. No, oh, sorry. No.
and we'll have people with nice, clean hair with using shampoo.
What? No idea how that comes. with the connection there.
Rachel Hunter Pantene, go YouTube it.
So anyway, we're not sponsored by Pantene, so don't use their shampoo. But buy a hat and put DrivingMaul on it because we love it. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye bye.